As the former coach of the Oklahoma Sooners, I have been thrilled by Barry Switzer's remarkable coaching success. His record is almost unbelievable. At present, it shows 126 wins, 4 ties, and only 24 defeats. In his 13 years as head coach, Barry's Sooners have won 3 national championships. Barry grew up in the hills of Arkansas. As you will hear from Barry, his formative years were, to me, unbelievably tough. He was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth. In contrast, his early life was one of continual shock and turmoil. These experiences built his strong character and taught him how to live with and conquer real, intense, continual pressure. As a coach, Barry has his own methods which are in tune with his own character and experience. His players love him, respect him, and give him their ultimate best in both practice and on game day. Coach Barry Switzer.
We've all heard that there are many different ways to get the job done, and I totally agree. No one has all the right answers, and we don't say that we do or that our way is the best. We do it our way because it's what we know and it's what gets us the best results. Winning at Oklahoma is very important. It's important at all major college football programs, just like it is in your business or career, whatever it may be. But at Oklahoma, because of the great tradition of winning, most of it created by the legendary Bud Wilkinson, it's not only expected and anticipated, but demanded. A lot like the quotas and the bottom line you have to live with. I've often stated publicly that Bud created a monster, and it was our job to continue to feed it. Some years we've done a better job than others, but I'd have to say our coaches and players have done a pretty good job of keeping old King Kong satisfied. I'd like to be able to say that the reason we've done this is because we're a group of outstanding coaches, and I believe we are. But my style is usually to be candid and straightforward and give credit where credit is due. Without question, the reason for our success is the acquisition of talent. In professional football, you draft it. In the collegiate game, you recruit it. Fortunately, we've been able to recruit players bigger, stronger, faster, and quicker than most of the teams we have to play. There are many different systems and styles of offenses and defenses. All coaches have their own playbook, but no system works without talent. There's no magical offense or defense that assures success, that will win for you if you use it. I believe that players win for you and players lose for you. I also believe that coaches get too much praise when we win and far too much criticism when we lose. Some people might disagree with me, but I don't believe that you can outcoach an opponent today like maybe you did 15 to 20 years ago. You win an occasional game, but I don't believe you outcoach all the teams on your schedule and win championships. Too many coaches come from winning programs. Most of them have been tutored well and know what it takes to win. Those programs winning today are doing it because they have better people to play with than their opponents. It's not to say coaching isn't important, because it is. Having talent only gives you a chance to win. Then coaching takes over. But how well you coach will determine how successful you are. But the one ingredient that must be there in all successful programs is talent. It's the same in your business. You can't assume you're smarter than your competition, and you can beat them on your brain power alone. You have to have good people on your team. Through the years, I've heard it stated that the team reflects the personality and the philosophy of its coach. I don't know if this is true or not, but I tend to think it might be. I've found out in my 30 years of college experience as a player and coach that players in most cases will do what you tell them to do or what you allow them to do. Without question, the head coach is a tremendous influence on his squad, which is really his family. I want to tell you what it's like to be a part of our family and why we are what we are. I guess the first thing I need to do is tell you a little bit about myself. I happen to be a person who likes to have a good time, a fun-loving, outgoing, enthusiastic person like many people are. But I've always been highly motivated because of the experiences in my earlier years. And one thing for sure is that I'm a mentally tough, thick-skinned individual. I assume most of my personal traits were created and formed in adolescence from the environment I grew up in. Anyway, this is what I've been told by people who are smarter than I am. I guess I need to share some of these personal experiences with you to give you an insight into why I am what I am. A few years ago, we just completed our third 8-4 season. losing 3 consecutive years to Nebraska and finishing second in the Big 8 Conference for the 3rd straight year. At Oklahoma, this is not considered a very successful season. Ridiculous, but true. There were rumblings and concerns expressed in the media. I don't think it was really as bad as the press made it out to be, but all of it made for a lot of stories and rumors. I was often asked by reporters if I was concerned about the pressure of maybe being fired. I always said that I wasn't concerned about it at all. I don't know whether they believed me or not, but that type of pressure really didn't bother me. Pressure is something some people have to deal with daily, but there are many people that don't have any idea what real pressure is. Some people will never know what real pressure is. Some people are born on third base and go through life actually thinking they hit a triple. Maybe they're lucky, but maybe they really aren't. I think people who have never had to compete, people who aren't hungry, have missed a great part of life. I'm like you are. I want the guy who is the hungry competitor, not the guy who thinks he has it made. To be completely honest, there aren't many football coaches who ever reach retirement age. Something seems to happen along the way. So the pressure of getting fired doesn't bother me. It doesn't concern me in the least. It doesn't, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you what pressure really is. I grew up in a small mill town in South Arkansas named Crossett, a textile paper products community of about 2,000. I lived several miles out in the country on a farm on an old dusty gravel road, and I'm sure I walked 1,000 times or more. The house we lived in was your typical shotgun model built up on stumps. I always thought it was built on stumps so all the dogs and hogs and chickens would have a place to live. For those of you that didn't grow up in the rural South in the 40s and 50s, a shotgun house is called a shotgun house because you could stand on the front porch and shoot a shotgun through the house and out the back porch and not hit a thing. No one out our way had electricity, which meant a lot of things. No indoor plumbing. We had a privy, and again, for those that don't know what a privy is, it's an outdoor toilet that's located about 50 feet downwind from the house. Ours was a 3-holer with a sack of lime in the corner and your ever-present Sears and Roebuck catalog that wasn't for reading. In the summertime, if you could stand the aroma, you could sit and watch the dirt daubers build their nest. And every once in a while, a big bumblebee would bore its hole in a 2x4, and you usually didn't want to stay in there too long with him around. The summer of my 9th grade year, the REA finally put a line out our way. I'll never forget the day the school teacher that was working for them in the summer months came up to the front porch and wanted to know if we wanted to sign up for electricity. This was a big day for us. This meant we could have running water, indoor plumbing, electric lights, electric radio, electric stove, and we could even buy one of those fans to keep cool at night and keep the mosquitoes off. This also meant that we wouldn't have to pump any more water from the well. We could burn the privy. No more reading by coal lamps and listening to the Grand Ole Opry on the battery radio on Saturday night. You've got to remember, this is before anyone had television and window air conditioner units. Dad said he hoped that teacher never tried to teach me after asking such a stupid question as, do we want electricity? By the way, we didn't get a telephone until I was a freshman in college. Our home wasn't much different from any of the other in the country in those days. We always had something to eat, and we always had plenty of work to do. We were no better or worse than anyone else. It was typical of the times, and the times were tough. World War II had just ended, and there were no jobs, so Dad started bootlegging whiskey. As you can guess, this was against the law, so the ABC boys, Alcohol Beverage Control, or revenuers, as they were called on the Beverly Hillbillies, took offense with my dad and his line of work. We were raided on many occasions. Sometimes I was there, and sometimes I wasn't. He was taken to the county jail a few times for short periods, but the summer before my senior year in high school, they got real serious, and he was sent to the state penitentiary. It was the prison farm where they made a movie a few years ago called Brubaker, the one that Robert Redford starred in. You can imagine all this wasn't kept secret in a small Southern Baptist town. I was now beginning to experience what I consider to be real pressure. It also played havoc with my social life, and since most of the town folk wouldn't let their daughters date the county bootlegger's son. But Dad didn't raise a dummy. I was smart enough to handle that one. I had many double dates where my buddy would walk up to the front door for me, but the bad thing about that arrangement was that he got to walk her back. Every other Sunday, I would drive my mother and my younger brother to the state prison farm. It was located in Delta country on a highway between Pine Bluff and Lake Village, Arkansas. It sat about 3 miles off the road up against the Arkansas River levee. All you could see in front of the prison were miles and miles of cotton that needed to be picked. And guess who got to pick it? As you drove up the highway, you could see clustered throughout the fields men in black and white striped uniforms picking and loading cotton on flatbed trailers. while nearby guards sat on mounted horseback with 30-30 rifles across their laps. My dad didn't have to pick cotton. He had a pretty good job as far as prison jobs go, raising rabbits, a basic part of the convict's diet. My dad never got to see me play football in my senior year, and I got to see him only by going to the prison farm, and everybody in town knew it. That's some more of what I consider real pressure. By the time I went to college, my dad was out of prison and everything returned to normal. He started back to bootlegging, and I went off to the University of Arkansas to play football. The summer before my senior year in college, my mother was a very emotional, depressed, sick woman. I really didn't know how sick she was. No one did. I wish I had known, because I might have been able to do something about it and about what happened. One night in late August, she took her life on the back porch. I was in bed and I heard a shot. The moment I heard it, I knew what she had done. I ran to her and I picked her up and carried her to her bed. And several years later, living alone at the old homestead, my dad was murdered. It was something he and I had discussed and feared might happen, and did. Considering those events, I think I know what real pressure is. My early years certainly held experiences that I would not want my children to have to endure, but life dealt it to me, so I had to handle it, especially since I wasn't born on third base. The tragedy and the pain, the humiliation, the paranoia, the feelings of being insecure and inferior, all the emotions that had to be experienced, I dealt with them. I think that maybe now you know why I consider myself to be a mentally tough, thick-skinned individual. Now you can understand why the pressure of being fired doesn't bother me. I guess pressure never has bothered me, because I figure what happens to me in the future can't be any worse than the past. But if it is, I'll handle that too. Our football team and coaches face tremendous pressures every year. Anticipation and the expectation of our fans are high. They expect us to win and win big. Our goal at the University of Oklahoma every season is to win the Big 8 Conference Championship, which we have won 33 times, and contend for the national title, which we have won 6 times. Only one other school has won more. These are very realistic goals for us. It has happened here before and is expected to happen again. What is the best way to handle this pressure? There are several things we try to do. The first thing is to try to make football fun at Oklahoma, to make it an enjoyable experience. That's right, fun to be a part of our program and fun to be in our family. But it is difficult, since football is probably the only sport that is not fun to practice. You know, you have to be crazy to want to practice football. The other sport I would consider not being much fun would be track, which would even be boring, running in circles all day. I always thought it'd be easy to coach track. All you'd have to tell them to do is stay to the left and hurry back as fast as they can. Now take basketball. It's got to be fun to go shoot buckets. That's all our players want to do in the off season. And how would you like to be on a golf scholarship and the coach tells you got to play 36 holes of golf today? Or tennis. That would be a great way to go to school, and those sports would be fun to practice and fun to play. The only time football is fun is on Saturday afternoon when you're in a stadium with 75,000 people watching, and sometimes millions when you're on national television. The reason it is not fun to practice is because it is a physically violent sport. It amazes me that anyone will want to play a game that demands that huge men collide at speeds as fast as they can run with a frame of mind that would actually scare fans to death. It's a tough, demanding sport played by tough men for demanding coaches, because they know on Saturday the team that is the toughest and most physical usually wins. We're tough and we're physical, but people who see our team for the first time are amazed at how loose we seem to be, regardless of the magnitude of the game. People who happen to watch us practice on Friday before any game would probably observe some of us playing frisbee, some playing touch football off in one area, or another group with a ghetto blaster blaring having a breakdance contest. Players having fun and enjoying themselves. There is no such thing as a game face on Friday around our place. I never thought the word loose was ever the right word to describe our squad, but that is the label that has been put on us, and I'm sure it will never change. I've read and heard it stated many times and actually resent it because the connotation of the word sometimes can be viewed positively and negatively in meaning. The label is really not fair, but regardless of how much I don't like it, we'll always be tagged as a very loose family, a very loose football team. What we are really is a group of confident, disciplined young men who know their coach will allow them to express themselves as individuals. We give them plenty of space to grow and develop as individuals. They are not tied down to a lot of rules that serve only to restrict their individual freedom. They know that they will be allowed to reflect their own personality and feel comfortable in doing so. I want to ask you a question. What has winning and losing ever got to do with how a young man dresses or cuts his hair? With wearing dark sunglasses or an earring in his ear or carrying a purse? Do you think these things reflect the character and integrity of the individual? Does it give an insight into his competitive nature or tell you what it's like in his heart and mind? Certainly not. All it does is tell you how the young man expresses himself outwardly, what he enjoys doing and seeing, and what in the world is wrong with that. One of my greatest quarterbacks, Jack Mildren, had reddish blonde hair that hung 3 inches out of his helmet. People didn't like it. They wrote me and told me, and I heard their comments. Nor did they like little Joe Washington, one of the greatest running backs in Big 8 Conference history, wearing silver shoes. The way he ran, I didn't care if he played barefooted. People certainly didn't like another quarterback that wore a bandana. All he did was win 4 consecutive Big 8 Conference championships. Now they liked that. Now I've got another wild and crazy bunch led by the best linebacker in America who sports a peroxided mohawk haircut, which, by the way, has created a new fad for haircuts in Oklahoma called the Boz, and an 18-year-old freshman quarterback who wears an earring and carries a purse. All they did was win another national championship. You've got to remember, they're all a bunch of kids, young men growing up, enjoying 4 or 5 years of the best time of their lives, all actors on a stage called football. They're just having fun along the way, and what's wrong with that? I'll guarantee you coaching them is more fun than coaching a bunch of clones who all dress and act and do only what you tell them to do. Appearances can certainly be deceiving. Remember, the guy with the long hair may turn out to be your best producer. And remember, too, that too many rules and regulations have ruined a lot of organizations. Oklahoma's looseness is just a sense of being relaxed and confident and facing the challenge ahead, living in their comfort zone. We may appear to be undisciplined, unorganized, unconcerned to the point of arrogance, but I can assure you that is not true. Surrounding all the fun and games is a big circle of discipline. We have our rights and our wrongs, and all our players know what they are. All of our players are aware of the limits, and no discipline definitely will be applied if their conduct ever exceeds those limits. We recognize and they recognize that we have to have discipline, but we believe that our way builds among the players a sense of loyalty to each other and to the program. They accept more readily their responsibility to each other and to the program. They accept more readily their responsibility to do what has to be done when the time comes. They know they have the opportunity to be themselves, but they also know they have to do what is expected of them. Communication is essential in our program like it is in yours. I take tremendous pride in our ability to communicate with our players and they with us. Communicating is not just a conversation, a dialogue and discourse between individuals. It is a genuine sharing and caring and understanding of giving of yourself to young men that need your years of experience and advice. This communication is built on honesty and fairness to each individual on the team, encompassed by genuine love, concern, and compassion for all of them. My mother told me when I was a young boy that only when I had children of my own I would know the true meaning of the word love. You know, she was right. I have 3 children of my own who I love more than anything in the world, and for whom without hesitation I would give my life. I also have 100 more loaned to me and entrusted to me for a period of time. That is an awesome responsibility, since these young men are the most prized possessions of mothers and fathers who also know the true meaning of the word love. Coaching, obviously, is more than winning football games on Saturday afternoon in the fall. Communication in the coach-player relationship is very important to our success. The team must believe in me as a person and know that I am concerned about them as an individual. How do you do this? It's simple. You tell them, and more importantly, you show them. We know the 3 most powerful words and 3 most difficult to say are I love you. In particular, you don't expect to hear these words around a football squad. But I look upon our football squad as a family, and there is love and compassion and caring among us. I once made a television promotional spot on college football to be shown at the halftime of televised games. I said the greatest reward in coaching was not the victories, but the coach-player relationship developing into genuine friendship that would last a lifetime. I believe that, and my players know it. They are totally comfortable around me, and I around them. We have a relationship that I never want to change. Without a doubt, the most important key to winning our way is our believing in being successful, our believing in our school, our coaches, our system, our teammates, and more importantly, ourselves, having the confidence, the faith, the conviction that regardless of the challenge, we will win. We will be the victor. We will be successful. Winning is an attitude. It is a state of mind. If a person believes in being successful, half the job is already done, because as important as the body is to the athlete, it's not nearly as important as the frame of mind, the mental attitude. It has been said that 90% of the game is played from the neck up. Of course, I'd like for the other 10% from the neck down to be 6'4", 270 pounds and run a 4.740. But I believe without question that winning is an attitude, just like losing is an attitude. We are fortunate at Oklahoma that athletes come here expecting to win. Athletes can go to other schools that are average in winning, and they expect to be average. Others go to schools that never win, and they expect to lose. Winning at Oklahoma is a tradition, a heritage that has been around for over 40 years. We like to say that other people talk about winning, but we invented it. We have a patent on it. We live in an atmosphere in believing that we will be successful, and every day our players grow in this atmosphere. This is tradition. This happens to be a tremendous advantage when we take the field. We never expect to lose, and I know that there are those teams that we play that know in their heart, regardless of how pumped up they are at kickoff, down deep, that they know that they cannot win. They cannot beat us. We know that too. Having good talent on our squad only gives us a chance to win. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to win. It only means that we have a chance. There are many more things that are involved that must be done if we are to accomplish the goals that we have set each year. First, we as coaches must develop to the optimum the talent, the skills, the ability of the individual players on our squad. We have an obligation to them to help them reach their full potential, and they have an obligation to us to help make that possible. They must be willing to make a commitment to pay a price for our goals. That price is a tremendous amount of work. I believe the harder you work for something, the more it will mean to you. The less you work for something, the less it will mean to you. So if you're willing to pay a tremendous price to become a team that we want to become, we are less likely to give it up without a hell of a fight. Championships are won in the fall, but they are set up in the winter and spring months in our off-season programs, the weight training, the aerobics, the agility, and running. Our spring practice does a great deal to determine how successful we will be in the fall. Dedication and commitment are essential, and they are only defined by the test of time. I ask a squad, is the tremendous effort you've given me today, will it be the same effort you give me 6 months from now, and every day in between? That's what dedication and commitment are. It's easy to work hard one day, and maybe even a week, but commitment and dedication is the discipline of doing it the right way, our way, 365 days a year. Football is simply a game of mental and physical repetition. Here's an example of what I mean. The basic play in our offense is the fullback off tackle. It is the play we'll run in practice more than any other, and through the season we'll probably run it hundreds and hundreds of times against every defensive set we'll happen to play against. I had a player ask me one day, "Coach, why do we run this play 1,000 times?" My answer to him was simple. "Son, because 999 is not enough. My business, and maybe yours too, means doing the same things you believe in day after day, 365 days a year." Over the years, I've often been asked what I considered to be the key to my success. I have jokingly answered, it's the fact that when I was in high school, they never took film of the games when I played. If they had, I never would have been offered a scholarship to the University of Arkansas, which means, obviously, I would have never played and gone into coaching. I'm really a lucky guy to be able to do what I want to do, coach football at the University of Oklahoma. I love my work and the people I work with. There's nothing else I would rather do. I am told that there are people who go to work every day throughout their lives not enjoying their work. That is unfortunate, but a fact of life. I hope the young men who have been a part of our family because of things they've learned, their experiences, will be a productive and happy citizen in our society. I know all of our young men will be competitors in life because winners never stop wanting to win. In closing, I stated in the beginning, there is no magical system that guarantees success in football. And I believe that there is none that guarantees success in life. But I believe the best chance to be a winner in any endeavor is setting high goals and paying a high price for them, developing talent and abilities along the way, and above all, our believing in being successful. I'd admit that luck and timing are essential, and hopefully we'll all have some of that. I don't know if this is the best way, but it is our way, and I know it's better than raising rabbits and picking cotton in Arkansas.